everybody, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Mara and this is another segment of Mara's Corner. Maybe you're someone who's wanted to start your own business for a long period of time, and for whatever number of reasons, whether it's because of a dire innate dream or because of this COVID-19 pandemic, you are now kind of placed in a situation where you just have to get started. So I want to focus today's segment on this particular topic, and I really want to talk about one major thing you need to consider before you press the start button on launching that home-based business of yours. So let's begin. So if you don't know me on a personal level, one of the hats I used to wear professionally was one where I worked in local government. One of the responsibilities I had was to sign off on business tax permits. And of all these business tax permits that I signed off on a very regular basis was for home-based businesses. So what is a home-based business? Well, it sounds pretty self-explanatory, but essentially it is that. Yes, it is a business that runs out of and or operates out of your home. The address for the home-based business is going to be the address of your residence. It's going to be the same. So what can count as a home-based business? Mind you, the definition of what a home-based business is and what is required of them is definitely going to vary depending on the local government in which you reside in. So each local government is going to have their own set of standards, guidelines, and policies around home-based businesses. So say you have this really great entrepreneurial idea and it is going to be the next best thing since sliced bread, but you really want to run that from your home. Great. But what are some of the things that you need to be aware of before you even begin launching this home-based business of yours? And that one big thing you need to be aware of is this, drum roll, zoning. But wait, isn't zoning about, I don't know, isn't that about building skyscrapers, and isn't that about urban planning and putting cities and blocks together? Well, yes, that is actually part of what zoning happens to be. While the concept of zoning may sound boring or bureaucratic, think again. Zoning is actually very important and it's all around you regardless of whether you like it or not. But what is zoning? Zoning is a tool that local governments use to govern different types of uses. That could be residential, commercial, industrial, the size of buildings and how buildings relate to their surroundings, open spaces, and the street. In the US, zoning began as a tool to separate different types of uses from another. For example, separating industrial uses from residential types of uses. And these zoning districts are going to determine a lot of different things. For example, can only residential activity occur? Is it okay for commercial activity to occur? And if so, to what degree? Does that mean that any type of commercial activity can occur? Can I have a restaurant or a drugstore or an auto mechanic all happen within the same zoning district? But how does that tie in with business? And how does that tie in with your home? Well, zoning can also dictate other nuances such as hours of operation and signage, or barriers that one could need for their type of business. Think of something like fencing. For example, some local governments may actually prohibit you from having signage on the outside of your home or apartment because the requirements in the zoning code may dictate that all homes have to look like a home from the exterior and nothing else. And one of the big things you're going to want to ask yourself is this question: is the type of business that I want to operate within my home even allowed? Let me explain. Maybe the type of home-based business you want to operate is literally just a home office. So maybe you do something such as accounting or insurance. Maybe you teach English classes online, or you're either a visual artist or a graphic designer. maybe one of those types of categories or something within that nature, and you just want a simple home office so you can work from the comfort of your home and have that type of activity occur. Maybe you're also interested in retail and you've been wanting to have your own clothing boutique or your own computer shop. Have you been wanting to have customers coming in and out of your house? Or are you more interested in the idea of doing something like e-commerce? Are you a hairstylist or an esthetician and you've had this dream of having a salon or your own spa operating within your home so you can have customers coming in and out from the convenience of where you live, so you can give them that perfect hairstyle or that perfect facial, and all you have to do is walk steps from your bedroom to your salon space. For all you foodies out there like me, are you a baker or a chef and you've been wanting to really work out some of your culinary muscles and want to either bake cakes or do catering, or maybe do something like start a restaurant or a little intimate cafe? Do you have a love of working with kids, and are you interested in maybe running a daycare from your home? Or maybe you have a big home and maybe it's either located in a unique area such as a historic district or some kind of swanky downtown, and you want to open up that extra room or maybe that extra space of yours in order to serve as a bed and breakfast. Think of something like starting an Airbnb. So maybe the type of business entrepreneurial idea that you have in mind is something that maybe I didn't even talk about, but before you begin to cut that proverbial ribbon and launch and create your grand opening debut for your home-based business, stop. One of the first things that I'm going to actually recommend is for you to contact your local planning and zoning department. And here's why. So most cities, counties, and other forms of local government across the US are going to have a zoning department, and that may be embedded within the planning department. But the point is, they are going to be the first point of contact you're going to want to get in touch with, and they'll let you know whether or not the type of business you want to operate within your home is allowed. And also many local governments, particularly within the zoning departments, are going to have certain requirements and regulations which dictate how much of your home can be used for your business. For example, some local governments may cap that no more than 25% of your home is dedicated to the business, while other local governments may cap that no more than 1 or 2 rooms or even a garage may or may not be used for your intended business. So that's something you're definitely going to want to check on. And also, depending on the nature of the type of business that you want to operate, some local governments are also going to require, per their zoning code, that you perhaps add additional parking to your home. And this might come to play when you want to open up something like a bed and breakfast establishment. But once again, looking at different types of local governments, they're going to also have different levels of approval for the type of business that you'll want to operate. So let's go back to that daycare example. Maybe, once again, you have a passion for taking care of those cute little kiddos. Before they can sign off on that business tax permit of yours, you may have to do some other things. You may have to, for example, apply for a special use permit or a conditional use permit, or in some places, in some instances, a variance. So it's really going to depend. So it may not just be so easy and so cut and dry that yes, your business is or is not allowed. Once again, it may be that you may have to go through an extra set of layers of permitting in order for that to occur. But I also want you to be aware that many local governments may also have restrictions and prohibitions on the type of business that you may want to operate from your home. Some may either have restrictions or prohibitions on you wanting to open a hair salon or a tattoo shop, or maybe even a food related establishment. I'm especially looking at you, fellow restaurateurs and caterers. Definitely check with your zoning department to make sure that those types of uses are allowed. And I know I've said this 100 times throughout the course of this video, but I'm going to say it again. Before you open up that business of your dreams within your home, please contact your local zoning department first. And if it makes you feel any better and have any kind of consolation to get something in writing, guess what? A lot of zoning departments can actually write you a zoning determination letter for a very nominal cost. And I'm going to tell you something, that nominal cost may be $30, $40, or $50 to get that official verification from the zoning department with that city or county letterhead is going to be a lot cheaper for you to get than for you to get in trouble and have to pay a lot of costly fines from a department such as code enforcement because you were operating a business illegally from your home. And that's gonna kind of take me into the next part of this. So what happens if you decide to intentionally or unintentionally operate a home-based business without getting a zoning department's approval? Well, there could be a lot of different things, and a couple main things I'm going to touch on is that one of the first things is that you may actually wind up getting a very nasty code violation. So the code violation could result in you having to pay a pretty hefty fee and or having to force your business to shut down. Going back to that foodie dream of yours, maybe you want to do catering or you want to start a little intimate home-based restaurant or cafe. Sounds pretty sexy, right? You want to be really careful about doing one of those types of businesses because not only could that result in a code violation from your area's code enforcement department, but you may also have the health department knocking at your door, and that's a whole nother beast with their own set of fines and penalties that you're gonna have to deal with, and that's definitely not something that I would ever recommend you risk. So how do I know so much about the nuances of checking with your zoning department? Well, going back to what I said in the beginning, when I worked in local government, I was actually a city planner, and the department I specifically worked for during the 3 years of my life was in a zoning division. And I will say that almost on a daily basis, I signed off on business tax permits, especially for home-based businesses. And while many times a lot of the types of businesses that people want to run, maybe once again an insurance office, or maybe they want to just do e-commerce, that was typically okay during the times. But there were also a lot of instances which was really heartbreaking, but I had to be the bearer of bad news and tell people that the business that they already started or that they intend to start or have been saving a lot of money and time into doing is not allowed. And it's really heartbreaking to be in that situation where you, as this bureaucrat, has to be the one to step down and let people know that their dreams can't come true. So folks, that's why I'm saying that it's really important that you check with your zoning department before you move forward with your business plans. In fact, I would even say to add checking with your zoning department to be one of the first things that you do as you are still in the process of drafting your plans or creating that checklist of all the different departments you're going to want to check with. Some other municipal and local government departments I would also check in with as well would be your business tax department as well as your building department, because once again, what you may want to do, especially if you're looking to do a bed and breakfast, the building department is probably going to go by your state's building code, which might have special restrictions for the types of activities that might be occurring within your home. For example, a bed and breakfast, you may have some extra requirements that you didn't have when you just had a regular residence. So definitely check with them as well. You don't want to get yourself into any sort of trouble where you're having to not just pay hefty fines, but you're going to have to rip down everything and start from scratch and look elsewhere. So many local governments actually have an economic development department that can help you and guide you step by step on all the steps you need to take in order to launch a successful home-based business. There's also the Small Business Administration, which is the federal administration, which has a list and plethora of resources to also help you get your foot off the ground. And really, folks, regardless of what your political views are or where you live, your tax-paying dollars are paying for these types of services that are being offered anyway. So why not take advantage of them? Anyway, are there any other planning and zoning related aspects that I didn't touch on, or anything else that you'd like to contribute to this conversation before launching that home-based business idea of yours? Please comment below. I would love to have a conversation about this. Well, folks, that's all I have for today's video. Once again, the purpose of Mara's Corner, which is my little YouTube channel, is not just to document my budding self-employment and entrepreneurial journey, but to also share some of the ins and outs of different nuances that I learn about as I continue upon this journey of mine. If you're interested in this type of content, or if you like this particular video and you find it to be useful, go ahead and press that like button, comment if you'd like to, and please go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell so then you will be notified of future videos that I create. Also, if you like food and you like delicious recipes, please go ahead and subscribe to my other vlog, The Funky Spork. You will not be disappointed, I promise you. Well, folks, that's all I have for today. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful week and weekend, and I'll see you next time. Take care.